Hey everyone, it's Unleashed with Scarlett Johnson. That's me, presented by Moms for Liberty. And tonight, I honestly wasn't even sure I was going to go live. I just got back from DC and about to fly out to DC again. And then just looking at the news, and there's so much going on. I thought, you know what, I there's so much to talk about that I don't even really need a guest today. I'm just going to go on. And because of the important thing that's happening on Tuesday, the event that I'm going to talk about, I wanted to re air some of my interviews with brave, wonderful young ladies. And it's very relevant, my conversations with them. And I hope to have some more conversations with them. But it's after the holidays and everyone's busy. And again, just got back from DC. I'll share. Oh, here, let's look at that. It was a packed room yesterday because Secretary Carolyn Levitt was not only having her regular press conference, but surprise, we were greeted with Robert Kennedy Jr., Secretary Robert Kennedy Jr., Secretary Brooke Rawlings, and members of the MAHA committee, basically the health committee, including Dr. Ben Carson, who it was great to see him, and Dr. Oz, and it was a great. That was just the beginning of this press briefing, which Moms for Liberty on X did live stream, and we had over 30,000 people watching live. But then after that, then it segued into the regular press briefing in which there was a lot of discussion about what's happening in Minnesota, as well as, of course, what's happening with Venezuela and Nicolas Maduro. So it's a really good press briefing. And then after that, we live streamed the hearing in the House, hearing in Congress. Basically, it was I think it was 5 hours, a 5 hour hearing on the waste, fraud, and abuse in Minnesota and what happened, what's going on with, as you know, Nick Shirley talking about the daycare centers, what's the Medicaid, Medicare fraud, just so much going on, just so much going on. And so yeah, that was fun. That was a busy day. And so let's there's just so much to talk about. I'm gonna kind of just go through kind of what I used to do old school. E- I just kind of start going through the X feed because it's I was when I was dropping off my daughter at school, the her principal was greeting me and was like, "Hey, Scarlett, how have you been? You've been busy." I'm like, "Yeah, I just got back from DC." And he's like, "You know what I feel like? If I just, if I'm not, I all of a sudden I look at my phone and you blink and something really important has happened. There's just one big story after another, and that's how I feel. I feel a lot, especially after the new year, and particularly when it comes to the subject of gender ideology, saving girls' sports, what's happening in schools, because it can feel like one step forward, two steps back, a lot. And so there's a lot of headlines right now live on X that are just shocking. Things happening in Wisconsin that are shocking, things happening in Minnesota, California, all over. And proving the necessity that we have to continue to battle for the hearts and minds of America's children, that we have not defeated woke ideology. DEI is not DEAD. They have rebranded in some areas, they've used different language or outright defiance of executive orders and defying even judges. There's stuff happening in California. So the defenders of democracy, those that are always harping on the fact like, oh, hey, we've got to follow rule of law and democracy. Well, when things aren't going in their favor, they change their tune really fast. So I still do not have my voice back all the way, but feeling fine. Just I talk. So, these things happen. So I'm going to bring up some of what is happening on X, just the way I did like kicking it old school. Um, hold on one second. Okay. So pulling that up. Bring up this classic image. Here's President Trump, that iconic photo, that awesome day where President Trump, one of the first things he did when he assumed office of presidency, he signed the Protecting Girls Sports executive order. And here he is, just surrounded by all of these young girls. Many of them, their moms are in Moms for Liberty, and I can recognize their daughters. And it was so beautiful, so amazing, and a lot of hope. And there are a lot of good things happening. There are many states, I believe there are at least over 20, maybe 26, 27 states that are codifying into their statutory law protection of women and girls, rejecting woke gender ideology. There are school boards all across America, even in blue states, that are standing firm at the definition of sex to include only male and female. They are rejecting the term gender entirely, which is what everyone should do. And so there are a lot of good things happening, and I don't want to diminish that. I don't want to diminish the hard fought wins. But there also must be the realization that there is still a lot of work that must be done. And I'll lead with this, and I will continue to talk about this, that January 13th is a very big day. January 13th, I will be in DC, as will many Moms for Liberty members and thousands of organizations across coming thousands of members of organizations from across the country are going to come to DC, and they're going to join this amazing rally protecting women's sports at the United States Supreme Court, January 13th, 10 a.m. on the steps of the US Supreme Court. This graphic right here is pinned to the top of the Moms for Liberty social media page. That's at moms4liberty. And this post is on all of our social media pages, so you can scan that QR code and find out more information. And also, Jennifer Say, XXXY, Alliance Defending Freedom, Do No Harm, January Littlejohn, organizations that we partner with from all over. They are participating. Riley Gaines, I've reposted her the great video that Jennifer Say has on her social media. There's a couple. I'll play a few of those because they're really, really good. She does such an amazing job with marketing. And this is an issue that is so near and dear to her heart, as well as mine and all of us. So there'll be some more information about that, but the Supreme Court is going to hear oral arguments on two very big cases. And so I'm going to on Tuesday, January 13th, Moms for Liberty will join organizations from across America on the steps of the United States Supreme Court for the Rally for Women's Sports. The Supreme Court will hear West Virginia versus B.P.J. and Hecox versus Little, two landmark cases that will decide whether girls keep fairness, safety, and equal opportunities that they deserve in sports. So this is happening in real time. This is history in the making. So again, January 13th, Tuesday, 10 a.m. on the steps of the US Supreme Court. I will do my very best to live stream this event. I'm sure there will be news organizations covering it live, uh, as long as I'm bringing my cameras, my phone, my iPad, my gig, my equipment, all of that. And as long as I can do it, I will try to live stream and take pictures, videos, all of that. So follow us on social media. We will have up to date reporting on the rally, and the oral arguments will be, I'm sure they will be aired live on many independent new media sites on YouTube all over. So stay tuned. You can listen to the oral arguments and then check out our social media pages, and you can feel like you are there. So if you can be there in person, that would be wonderful. I will see you there. I would love to meet and talk with you. And hey, you know that Trans Tifa is going to be out, so we need our side to show up too. And Joyful Warriors do not sit on the sidelines. We are active participants. So if you can be there, I know it's pretty hard. If you're in the area and you can drive there, that would be great. And keep in mind, it's going to be very crowded, very busy. So come early. I am going to be setting up very early because I know that when there are crowds like this, it's going to be a little hectic. So hoping to see you there, and it'll be fun. It'll be amazing. Be a really good time. So that is, so we're going to talk about that now. Quickly, let's talk about some issues that are happening, and then I'm going to air the great interviews that I have with some very special young ladies. So I'm going to share my screen. We'll go to X. So what I mean, it just gets so crazy. So I'm going to go 1 second. All right, here we go. So I just reposted this really shocking. Students at Montgomery High School, New Jersey, are reportedly being given lessons on queer coding. So you can see right here, Libs of TikTok posted these images sent to them, likely by parents. I know I send them a lot of things when I see it, and we've got our moms and dads that are always on the lookout, and we have teachers that are, basically whistleblowers talking about this is what's happening in the school. Please let everyone know what's really happening. And it's something that is happening. So promote secretly implementing the LGBTQIA plus themes into media to facilitate social acceptance. And they even show where you can contact the principal. Another post. So we've got right here my friend Sonia Shaw. Gavin Newsom is panicking. Sacramento is scared. Newsom just moved to strip power from the state superintendent. So I'm going to go ahead and play my friend Sonia, who is so awesome and so brave. I'm going to play her whole video. Let's do it.
Oh my gosh, guys, look at this. This is wild, but you need to hear it. Gavin Newsom is straight up panicking. Word is around the Capitol today that he's completely terrified that I'm going to win the state superintendent race, linked arms with all of you. And honestly, the timing tells you everything. This is perfect timing. For the first time in 4 years, Mr. Newsom himself suddenly gives a State of the State address. And what does he do? He proposes stripping power from the state superintendent office. Come on, guys. The writing is on the wall. Let me be clear. This has nothing. I mean, you guys know it has nothing to do with accountability. Kids can't even read, write, and do math. That's a complete lie. This is a power grab, plain and simple. Dude, it's like he keeps doing this junk, right? Why? Because he knows exactly what I will continue to do in that seat. I've fought tooth and nail for you guys, and I have been on the front lines of protecting our kids. We have flipped school boards. We have won court battles. We have linked arms with others that have won court battles. We protected our girls' safety, and we continue to do so. And we are putting reading, writing, and math ahead of politics in the classroom, and he loathes that. He absolutely hates it. The state superintendent is a constitutional office. You guys, us, the voters, created it to be independent from corrupt governors like Newsom and the entrenched insiders just like this. And I intend to use it to empower families and not the bureaucrats like they are doing. Look, we all know our kids are on a pathway to disaster with them at the hands of them. Kids are being put at risk, and Sacramento wants more control instead of real solutions that we are providing linked arms. This is our moment, guys. This is another gift from Gavin Newsom himself. If you're ready to fight, I ask you to stand with me. Linked arms, donate, share this video with every single person you know. Share my website, shaw4forca.com. We need to get more school board members elected around California. We're going to win this for our children, and I couldn't be more excited. As I go across California, we will continue to fight the good fight. Linked arms. Love you guys.
Vote Sonia Shaw.
Let's go.
That's awesome. I love how she says Governor Newsom. Governor Newsom in California. Love Sonia Shaw. In fact, Sonia Shaw is the first candidate that Moms for Liberty has endorsed statewide for state superintendent. So we are so excited for Sonia. We are behind her 100%. And Moms for Liberty has endorsed her in her election, in her bid for state superintendent of California. She is already she kicks butt all over the place in her role as president of school board in California. And she has been on my show, and I would love to have her on again. Hey, Sonia. Hey, and you know what? You know, if Sonia, if you want to get on right now, you're welcome to. So I'm sure she's busy, but I love her. Always would have her on. So you know the link, Sonia. You're welcome. Join me. She's amazing, and Newsom should be scared. That's awesome. So that's good news there. So we had some weird news about New Jersey. I've got some more. I've got the receipts, people. I've been waiting to post this. I've been so busy. I was in DC in a lot of meetings, meeting a lot of people, doing the work that you don't see. There's so much that you don't see, having private conversations, meeting closed door strategy sessions, policy, talking with organizations. You know, there's a ton of work. Everything that you see, there are hundreds, if not thousands of hours of work behind that. And so there are a lot of good things coming, and you just have to know that there are so many people working so hard, and whether they're in grassroots organizations, 501c3s, 501c4s, or I know that there are so many people in the Trump administration working so hard. They are trying to, this is a huge bureaucratic system, and they're doing, their best to affect change. And when it comes to gender ideology, education, the huge behemoth leviathan that is education policy and the teachers unions, and then you've got the NGOs, and then you've got the George Soros money, and you've got UN money. There is just so much pressure exerted on the systems to defeat the United States of America, because we are the last hope, I think, for Western civilization and mankind. We really are. There is nowhere else to go for liberty, freedom, and free speech. All of the things, like, there is nowhere else to go. And if we do not succeed, we will enter 1,000 years of darkness, as predicted by President Ronald Reagan. So there is no back door to the Alamo, and there is no back door. There was no back door to the Alamo. There is no back door for this fight. There's no plan B. We have to win. So that fuels me, and it should fuel you, because losing is not an option. Failure is not an option. As my dad would always say, that you have to adapt, improvise, overcome. So you can use a Marine, and it works. Now, what's next? There's so much. There's so much. Other news. So we also aired the White House press conference today with Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt and Vice President J.D. Vance, and it was to address the fraud that is happening. And we were alerted to this press conference at about 9 a.m. today, and the White House press schedule was changed about that time. So a bit, not necessarily a surprise, but something that wasn't planned initially. But in this press conference, which was pretty short, Vice President J.D. Vance talked about the fact that the White House is assigning another official in the Department of Justice with the sole job of overseeing the fraud and abuse in immigration. And that's really important, because when we talk about unaffordability, when we talk about the fact that healthcare costs have skyrocketed, that young families can't find affordable childcare, well, maybe some of the reason why is because billions and billions of dollars are wasted in these schemes, like we saw in Minnesota, where the non-existent daycare centers existed and exposed by a 22-year-old kid. And you know what? Actually, I want to play, since I'm talking about it. I go out of order, and I'm going to find the clip. I normally would have uploaded all of this ahead of time, but this is why you love live streams, and I can, it's my show and I get to do this. So let's go to, I'm finding it, scrolling. I posted a great clip. Okay. Found it, and gonna bring this up now. All right, let's share this. So this is a clip of Nick Shirley on one of my favorite podcasts, on Valuetainment, the PBD podcast. I love those guys. They're really funny. And I met them in real life, and they're so tall, really nice. But shout out, I'm a fan, love you guys. And my husband and I, when we're on the weekends driving around, going to my daughter's basketball games, going taking my kids around, my husband and I always listen to beauty podcast. And it's a good like it's like it's not just a guy's podcast. First of all, I love it, although, I'm a little different. But my husband loves it and they're just they're fun and smart. And they were smart. They got Nick Shirley on right away, who I would love to have on at some point right now. I'm sure he's really busy. But hey, if you're watching Nick Shirley, I would love to have you on. I sent you a DM. Okay, so let's get this going.
Why are you guys coming after somebody for going against fraud? Like, I didn't make this a right or left issue. I just showed you guys that fraud was happening, and now you guys are coming after me. You're saying I'll be the next Kirk. You're literally stopping at intersections and coming after me and trying to attack me. Like, what? Why are you so evil? Like, what's wrong with you? Like, what? Why are you defending fraud? Do you like money being stolen? No. And what are you doing? You're a racist. No, I'm not a racist. I'm just telling you what the facts are. You guys are stealing money from the people that are working hard here inside the United States. I was literally talking to a black man, and then the Somali man comes out, and he's also black. So I can't understand what they're thinking, calling me a racist. I'm having a great conversation with a black man, and then another black man comes up, and he's Somali descent, and he comes and attacks me for being a racist. I'm like, no, I'm not a racist. It's so stupid. And that's why the fraud has been able to happen for so long, because people like Tim Walz are afraid to be called racist. And me and my generation, we're over it. Like, we don't care.
Oh, I love that, buddy.
Like, we do not care. Call us a racist. I do not care, because I am not a racist. We're just seeing that prices of homes are so expensive. I don't even have a friend that can afford a home. People aren't getting married because of how expensive things are. And we're paying so much money in taxes. Most kids are, I'm lucky because I didn't go to college, but most kids are starting their life off behind the starting line. They're thousands of dollars in the debt. And so, yes, we're upset because you guys are stealing millions of dollars and getting rich. And then you're bragging about the white man working on TikTok. Who's actually the racist? You're the racist. You're the one saying the white man, you work white woman, you work white man. We're sick of it. Nobody cares. Like, stop committing fraud. If you're going to be here, be happy to be here and work hard like we're working hard. Whether you're black, Mexican, Asian, white, just go and work. And don't start playing this victim card and start trying to make things political about money, for instance, or don't get mad at people for making money. Like, that's why America is the greatest country in the world, is because of capitalism. And we had 250 years to do it. All these other countries had thousands of years to do it, but they didn't do it. That's why we have to protect what's ours.
No question about
Amazing. Good for you, Nick Shirley. Whoa. Amazing. Mic drop right there. Mic drop. Like, I want to play it again. I'll repost this. I'll add it to the comments because please listen to that. And I'll also post a link to that podcast. The whole podcast is worth listening to. I listened to it on my flight back from DC, and I couldn't even sleep because it was so good. I was riveted. It was really good. This is a really good kid. He is a member, he's a Mormon member of LDS, the Church of Latter-day Saints. He says he's never smoked, never drank. He's saving himself for marriage. So he basically was challenging all of the radical left that are like, I'm going to come after you in the media. It's like, come at me. Like, you're not going to find anything. He's a kid that was very athletic in high school and loved YouTube. So he started a YouTube channel really young, and he started it while he was in high school, and he didn't go to college. This is what he decided to do, to become an independent media. And I think he kind of got into journalism. He is a devout Christian and clearly somebody who has awesome parents that raised him right. What he said right there, I love it. I think it reflects Gen Alpha, or the late stage Gen Z, Gen Alpha. They're just like, I'm not a racist. So say whatever. You can't I'm not going to play this game. Like, I'm not a racist. You're not going to be able to call me a white supremacist. And I'm going, oh, oh, oh. And what he said, it's so powerful what he said. Because again, this is 22, 23-year-old. He said that Tim Walz and Minnesota Democrats let all of this happen. One, because what I think we're probably going to see that there was some incentives. There were some incentives for them to allow this to happen, and we will see what those incentives were as the facts unfold. And if you watched the hearing that I live streamed, or that Moms for Liberty live streamed on X and YouTube and on my personal socials, jaw dropping, eye opening. It's long, but you know what? If you're cleaning the house, go ahead, turn it on, listen, because it's insane. There is no excuse. Now, the Democrats kept trying to say, oh, but Trump, oh, but Trump. They can't defend this. Blatant fraud. And the Republicans that were testifying, the Minnesota Republicans that are elected officials in the Minnesota State House, said that when we tried to expose what was happening, we were attacked, we were harassed, we were called racist, white supremacists, everything. Basically, if you questioned the fact that millions of dollars is going to a daycare with blacked out windows and no children in the building, that you were a racist, because it was a Somalian daycare owned by a Somalian immigrant. That housing fraud, stories about driving past homes, these $1 million homes with luxury vehicles, and they were classified as in some way where they were getting 800,000 millions of dollars. And then that the daycares, the inspection reports had the daycares classified as basically a death trap. But they still got money and they weren't shut down. It's insane. It's insane. I'm not even doing it justice. It's a whole nother show. And it's important because these are daycares, these are childcare centers. This issue affects parents. And what also affects parents, the price of housing, the affordability of insurance, and taxes. And now I can tie the waste, abuse, and fraud into not only Minnesota public schools, but Milwaukee public schools. So that story is coming up next. Huge story. And then there's more with Milwaukee public schools. I mean, I was only going to talk for an hour. I'm going to try to keep it to that, but there is so much going on. There's so much going on. So I posted, what I posted about this, the quote from Nick Shirley on the PBD podcast: "Me and my generation are over it. We do not care. Call me a racist. I do not care, because I know I am not a racist." While adults in Minnesota accepted fraud and corruption as the norm rather than the risk of being called names, Nick Shirley exposed hundreds of millions, if not billions, in blatant fleecing of the American welfare system. His work led Governor Tim Walz to drop out of his reelection campaign in Minnesota for governor. Families rooted in love, faith, patriotism, and courage beget kids who can move mountains. So, parents, do your job. Tell your kids the truth. Get them involved. Talk to them about what's happening in the political world. Talk to them about these issues. Tell them if someone dares call you a racist just because you're doing the right thing or you're asking questions like, and you're asking actually good questions, do not tolerate it. Do not back down. Absolutely don't. Because you know what? I'm Puerto Rican and I'm called a racist and white supremacist. My friend Adam Coleman is black. My friend Bill Brewer is black. I have a bunch of Hispanic and black friends that are called white supremacists and racists all the time. Because if you don't agree with the woke Marxist crazy people, they're going to call you a racist. It doesn't matter. And you know what? They're actually the racist. Nick Shirley is right. He's 22, 23, and from his, experience, which is more limited, that's what he sees. So, Nick, I can confirm to you that as a Puerto Rican woman has 5 children, and I have children your age and older and younger, from 14 to 26, you are 100% right. They are the racists. They are the racists. I cannot tell you how many, in particular, of these woke white women that have come up to my face, they have had the audacity to come up to my face and start to yell at me and tell me how I am a bigot and a racist. And do you think for 1 minute that I ever flinch? Do you think for 1 minute that I ever think, oh, no? I look them right in the eye and I give it right back to them. Oh, thank you, white savior. What would I do without you? And oh my gosh, does that drive them nuts? Like, I remind them that in the intersectional Olympic, I I actually have higher status than they do. So, they need to stop asserting their white privilege and make sure that they give me the space in order to in order to be heard and be seen. Throw all their woke mumbo jumbo right back at them. And you don't have to be Puerto Rican or black, Mexican or whatever. I don't like to play into the identity games, although it is a little bit fun to kind of make them, because they don't know what to say. Particularly, like, I'm pale. This is me pale right now. I'm in the summer, like, get very dark. Interesting to go to school board meetings and have um, officials in my school district say, "Oh, look at her. She's so tan. What does she do all day?" It's like, dude, that was actually racist what you said, because this is my skin color. I was born this way. But they they get a point of privilege. They get their racist hall pass, and they use it on conservatives. It's the same thing. These, like, totally, uh, these guys, the woke soy boy guys, they're actually like so insecure, and they look in the mirror and they see what we see. So, they know, they know, they know, and they have to pretend that their lack of muscles and their, like, weak inability to get a better job than a woman, to take care of a woman, to get a woman, they know that it's really a reflection of them, but they want to blame someone. So, you know, so they blame women, and they're not allowed to go after progressive women. But the progressive women give him a free hall pass to be misogynistic, horrible beasts to us. And I was just talking with my friend Meg Brock, um, reporter for Daily Caller, about this, that it's so wrong that progressive women tolerate this, because in the end, it's harmful for society, it's harmful for the men, it's harmful for all women to encourage and basically to incite and revel in men behaving so badly towards people like Riley Gaines or myself or some of the young girls who you're going to hear from, Jennifer say, to laugh and encourage that actual horrible behavior is it's already backfiring on you and it's going to backfire even more. Um, that's why you are not actually feminists because you have to hate women in order to want to see women crushed by other men. You have to kind of hate women and girls if you want to send men into women's prison and the worst kind of men. And if you want to send men into girls' bathrooms, scaring young girls, then you're no friend to women and you're certainly not a feminist. And you can lie to yourself all day long, but you can't lie to me and you can't lie to Team Sanity. We see right through you, and that's what you hate. We see you, and you don't like it, and you shouldn't because it's pretty bad what we see. So there was that. And apparently Google was censoring him. I hope that that has stopped. He's got 1 million followers now. He was reposted by Elon Musk like a bunch. But he is still young. And oh, look, live on X, we're number 1. I'm just checking right now. We're number 1, guys. That's awesome. And you know what's really cool about being like, well, I mean, this is in kind of the like in what I can see, it's not number 1 on the Hall of X, but in conservative live streaming, what's great is that this is Moms for Liberty, like this is kind of a labor of love what we're doing right here and passion project. We don't have producers and schedulers, and any of my guests can tell you I am DMing them like, hey, can you come on in right now? Can you come on in a couple of days? And they're very kind in coming on and working with the schedule of a mom of 5 kids, because even I have 3 that are still home, and even though I have 2 that are grown, like there's still things, there's still family time and extended family, and then trying to maintain, somewhat of your life, and then the work in Wisconsin, and then all of the work that we're doing with Moms for Liberty. And I am the social media manager for Moms for Liberty's social media. So in all of that, I'm really trying to do these podcasts and live streams so that there is something that where we're talking about some of the things that no one is talking about. And as we go into the new year, we're going to do some of the things that no one does. We're going to start live streaming school board meetings again. And we're going to have conversations with a lot of folks that you have never heard of, but they are doing such good work. And I've been in communications with several of them. And I know upcoming I will have Erin Friday on, because we're going to discuss an important issue regarding child protective services and the foster care system. And that's something important to her. And there are a lot of great people that I've met particularly over the last 3 days, and I cannot wait to give them the platform so that they can talk to you all, and you can be aware of their resources, start using them. You can hear their compelling story, you can share it, and we can, the grassroots, we can uplift each other. This is not a zero-sum game. We all have to work together cooperatively to defeat woke once and for all. And it's a marathon, not a sprint. So in that, there is more good news. And I have that right, a recent where I put hope alert. And that's under the Moms for Liberty social media page. And let's share this now. I'll pull it up on the screen. We've got 9,000 watching live. Hi, everybody. I should look. Oh my gosh, there's 103 comments. Do I even want to look at the comments? Should I look at the comments? Yes or no? Let's like real quick. Oh, I'll see if there's any. Oh my gosh. Oh, here's one that's funny. I won't put the one with swear words. There's a lot. Oh, this is a good one. God bless you all. Trump, that's good. This one. Oh, someone said this one. No, don't look at the comments. Oh, okay. You're listening. Yeah, it's true. Oh, here's somebody. Yeah. No picture and now no full name. So coward. Here's one. I live in California and I'm a millionaire. Thinking about what red states I should move to. Yeah, a lot of people are. They think about what red states they should move to. But I'm in Wisconsin, a purple state that we're trying to, we're trying to win the governor's race, keep a hold of our assembly and state senate. And yeah, I love Wisconsin. I love my state. I only want to travel in the winter and go somewhere warm. We visit Florida as much as we can. I have a daughter in school there, but I don't want to leave my state. I'm sure you don't want to leave your state either. But what you're thinking, what can I do? Well, here's the thing. While Democrats control the populated areas, there are more Republicans in California than they are in many red states where they are red control governor, control state capital, even the state Supreme Court because of the population. So you're not alone, but it must really, it sucks to be ruled by people who suck. I am sure. Someone says all Minnesotans are coming here. If you're talking about Wisconsin, yes. That is why in northwestern Wisconsin, the western half of our state, the borders Minnesota, those are our very fast growing Moms for Liberty groups. The GOP has grown. They're refugees from Minnesota. And I'm actually going to, I had some really good conversations from some lawyers and activists from Minnesota this week, and I'm going to be bringing them to Wisconsin, platforming them. So basically to canaries in the coal mine about what can happen. My husband was recently on a work trip in Minnesota, which basically I call Little Somalia in this area. And my husband said that he's over the last 25 years of business, he's gone back and forth and he's never seen it. He's like, it is a third world, it is uninhabitable. He can't believe what he has seen. He cannot believe. And he knows many people, and I know many people that have left and they're taking their businesses with them, their families with them. And it's just what the Democrats have done to Minnesota is appalling. And any city can be like Minneapolis if you allow that kind of grift and corruption and fraud. And then you have these people voting, and 10 years later they come in, and then 10 years later they are still taking welfare. Not only are they taking welfare, they are abusing the kindness and the goodness of Americans, policies that are meant to help the poor, to help those struggling, to help the single moms, to help the young families, just to give them just a little leg up so that they can become prosperous, tax-paying citizens in the future. No, this should anger everyone. It's awful what is happening. And you know what? If you don't want to get hurt by ICE, don't stand in front of a moving vehicle with an ICE agent in it. Don't spit in their face. Don't cuss at them. Don't drive from across the country with the express purpose of calling out ICE agents while your partner is recording you and cheering on and swearing in the background. So if you would like to not get hurt by ICE, a good rule of thumb is don't attack them, go after them, throw stones at them, impede the work where they are simply trying to find out, are you a legal citizen? Are you here illegally? Are there court orders against you? Have you committed crimes? To feel sorry for those aiding and abetting criminality, fraud, waste, corruption, abuse is mind-blowing to me. You have to be a special kind of stupid. And I love my family, my friends, my country, my community more than I love my party or an ideology or being able to, flash some kind of virtue to all my Marxist buddies. Someone said pure hate and evil. Russian bot. Really? Oh yeah, there's one Russian bot. Oh, here I'm sorry, I've got this. This comment so far back. Yeah, I love it. The dark money. Where is it? There's no dark money. There's no money. Oh my Lord. Ryan H2691. You're a coward who doesn't show your face and doesn't put your name up. You're a coward and a loser. And now I'm blocking you. Oh, it gets me so angry. I know I try not so here's one. Women in Pennsylvania are ready to get men out of our spaces. Thank you for fighting alongside of us. Happy to do so. And we need to, Pennsylvania is woke in the elite suburbs. And even we were in Philly and the Philly police were awesome. And the people when we had our summit there, the people that work in the hotel loved us. Every Uber driver that every time I got in an Uber, they were saying, I'm getting out of this country. Most of them were legal immigrants saying, I can't send my kids to school here in Philly. They're trying to turn them all trans. Keep going, do what you're doing. The normal people when they see this, they go nuts. It's the woke white elite with their luxury beliefs. They are the culprits. And they lie and manipulate, and they use the media to try and say, like, this is about race, or this is about taking away your social security or something like that. It just lies, all lies. Here's when woke is out. It's out. It's out. It's not popular. It's nobody except for a cluster B person with a personality disorder who might have children and who enjoys using their children as political props, making them pretty much evil. Now, that person may want to put a full grown 200-pound man with fully intact male genitalia into a girl's bathroom like they do in Westosha, Wisconsin, like they do in Kenosha, like they do in Pennsylvania, like they do in Illinois, like they do in New Jersey, like they do in California, like they do in Oregon, like they do in Colorado, like they do in New York. Now, maybe those people want men in women's sports and spaces, but sane people do not. And that comprises the vast majority. Over 80% in a poll will tell you that. And I think that is probably low. Now, let's see, does anyone know what are the stats? How many people, and what's the percentage of people in this country that suffer from cluster B personality disorders? They are schizophrenic, they are psychotic, they are unwell, they are clinically insane. So what's that percentage? Because that's the percentage that want men in women's sports and men in women's spaces and throw men in women's prisons. And unfortunately, that little group has got the full support and backing of the Democrat Party for reasons. And because there are a couple billionaires who now think that they're women, and they're funding this too. We've got that. And then you've just got the Marxists that think this is a really great way to destabilize America so we can destroy it from within and take it over and then turn it into, China, or just basically, we're all going to not own homes. We're going to like it, right? We're all like going to be batteries for the Matrix. So there's those. I'm really going off today, aren't I? This is what happens when I don't have a guest on. And Jesus Christ does love me and loves everyone. But that does not mean that he tolerates wickedness. Let's see. Someone said refreshing in this season, and talking about the clip with Nick Shirley. Yes, it is refreshing. Nick, you are deeply appreciated. Never stop. That's a good one. Amen. Amen. Let's see. Fast and pray for Nick. I agree. Go Trump. Yes, go Trump. Nick Shirley reported old news. Yes, he did. He reported old news, but no one was paying attention. The news was out there in Minnesota, but the mainstream media didn't pick it up. Government officials like Nick Shirley took that news, knocked on doors, recorded it, and it went viral. And now he's reporting a lot of new news, and people are uncovering more. So that is, so what? He reported old news. I'm going to report some old news right now, because maybe sometimes people aren't paying attention. So there's news from 2020, 2021, 2022, 20. I'm going to show you I'm going to be posting a bunch of old news about Minnesota. My friends at Myth-Informed MKE reported a lot of stuff, and it didn't get a whole lot of traction. It will now. So yeah, report the old news. Mega Trump. Yep. USA supports Trump. Are you American host? Yes, I'm an American. Born in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Praise Mega and Trump. You're literally a racist. Well, thank you, Professor Hoffman with Jesus smoking a cigarette, for calling me a racist. Whatever. I'm going to quote for Nick. Call me whatever you want. I'm not a racist. And even if I wasn't Puerto Rican, I don't care. Like, I'm not a racist. You're an idiot. And you're probably a racist too. Where am I from? I am from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. The only thing better than having Trump is having all your children agree with you. Yeah. You can raise, just if you can have, you want to raise kids that are independent thinkers. Even if your kids don't agree with you, if you can just be respectful and I would say never, ever, ever, never disown a family member, particularly a child, just because they don't agree with you. And a child should not do the same if they don't agree with a parent. Their politics should never get in the way of deep friendships, of families. We've got to learn to accept each other no matter what the politics are. And I firmly believe that. I have family members who do not like Trump. I have family members who do not vote Republican, and I love them, and we have good conversations. And sometimes I can win them over, but I really don't try to win them over. They ask me a question, I'll answer it. My goal isn't to win over family members. My goal is to just be an example of just be a good example, and hope that when they hear me talk or they read what I have to say or they ask me a question or they look at what I'm doing, they can at one point they can see my example and think, hey, you know what? Maybe what she's saying is right, because I'm looking at some other people and they're pretty darn crazy. La, la, la. Something about AI is not this ugly that I'm AI. Well, whatever. No. Let's see. No more I can say this. No more DEI in schools. That's good. You look 60. Well, I'm not. And I don't look like I'm 60. How many plastic? None. Zero. Zilch. None. Seeing the wrinkles in your face. See, this is what I love. 1, how many plastic surgeons have you had? Then 2, you look 60. Look at all the wrinkles on your face. Yeah, see, I've got a lot of wrinkles. They can't make up their mind. And that's because they're not real. They're bots. They're idiots. But I just wanted to, nice wig. My hair. Sorry, my hair, not a wig. Oh, Lord. Anything else good? Truth. You can see the painted eyes. Sarah. Whatever. Okay. All right, that's enough. There's a lot. But keep posting them because that only helps our algorithm. So thank you. Appreciate it. Um, there. Put more. Oh, Lord. You know, I would say, like, if you don't, if you really hate everything that I have to say, why are you listening and why are you commenting? How sad of a life do you have? Like, do you not have family or friends or something to do? Because I would never waste my time listening to someone I hated and then commenting. That is like, my life is so full. Like, there are so many other things that I would rather do than that. So you're a pretty sad individual if this is what you do with your free time. Unless you're a paid bot and you're getting paid for it, which probably are. So, all right, fun time with comments, right? So let's talk about a little bit more news before I post these great interviews that I have. So, there's Milwaukee. I want to talk about that because it's Milwaukee. It has to do with Minnesota, and it's a really big story. So pull this up. Okay. So my friend Tom Tiffany, who is currently 7th District Congressman, he represents the 7th District of Wisconsin, which, by the way, borders Minnesota. And he often will say, "Don't Minnesota my Wisconsin." And I agree completely. He is running for governor, and he is a lead contender in the race for governor of Wisconsin. And so he posted today, I'm going to bring this up. He reposted an exclusive story with a local media, TMJ4. Milwaukee Public Schools hired a deputy superintendent from Minneapolis Public Schools with a salary of $240,000 a year. So let's watch this. And
we needed to be more transparent, and we did that.
That's Ibrahima Diop, a name unfamiliar here in Milwaukee. For the last decade, Diop has served as the senior financial officer for Minneapolis Public Schools. 3 weeks ago, Diop was hired by the Milwaukee Public School District as the deputy superintendent of operations, serving under Superintendent Brenda Casilius with an annual salary of $240,000. This past Friday, the Minnesota Reformer reports Diop and 2 other senior leaders in Minneapolis were put on administrative leave. That's after the school board learned they failed to submit necessary financial paperwork to the state as the district faces a $25 million budget shortfall. Sound familiar? It might. I've been reporting on Milwaukee Public Schools' own financial missteps for the last year and a half. In May 2024, we learned MPS also failed to submit its own financial records to the state, and the state threatened to withhold tens of millions of dollars.
so that's, I'm going to talk more about this. Hold on, let's move this. This is, I just want to go through some of the details of this. I'm not going to say the name correctly, but Ibrahima Diop served as the senior financial officer for the Minneapolis Public Schools for 10 years. On December 18th, he was hired by MPS Schools. He would be the deputy superintendent of operations with a salary of $240,000. For those who don't know, MPS has been in huge trouble, the Milwaukee Public Schools, for some of the same problems. They have lost tens of millions of dollars. MPS has abysmal accounting. It might be more. I should look up exactly the number. MPS is just a nightmare for many reasons. So they needed to hire someone, a superintendent of operations, someone to fix Milwaukee's financial crisis. Who do they hire? They hire a guy who is now facing in his district, Minneapolis, facing a $25 million budget shortfall, placed on administrative leave because he is not submitting the financial paperwork. This is the exact same problem in Milwaukee, the problem that he was hired to fix. What kind of vetting are they doing? I would imagine it looks to me pretty much like DEI vetting. Do you fit, number one, do you fit some sort of DEI requirement? Check. You got the job. This is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. MPS schools who, it would make sense though in a way, right? If you want to keep getting away with financial mismanagement and running the MPS school system into the ground, who better to hire than someone who just ran the Minneapolis schools into the ground? Clearly, they aren't serious about fixing the financial problems in the largest school system in Wisconsin, a school system that comprises the majority of minority children. Parents in Milwaukee should be outraged. I really have no words. Milwaukee Public Schools in 2024 faced a huge financial reporting failure, losing tens of millions in state funding, if not more. According to MPS, they are reviewing this information with their legal counsel. Here's some key questions I have. Was this information known before DIEP was hired by MPS? Was vetting done? Who did the vetting? I think we FOIA the vetting. I think we FOIA a lot of things. Why is MPS hiring leadership tied to the exact same type of failure it is trying to recover from? Is that a bug or is that the intention? Who is accountable? I want to know who is accountable. Who hired him? The district claims it just learned of this situation. Well, yeah. What kind of vetting did they do? This isn't about politics. This is about competence, transparency, protecting taxpayer dollars, protecting children, giving children the education that they need. MPS has the worst record in academics, not just in the state, in the country. They are bottom, last in, here's a statistic that I've used often, and you can't hear it enough. Only 5% of Black students in the 4th grade can read at grade level, that they are competent in Milwaukee Public Schools. That is the lowest in the country. DEI, all these woke saviors, they are claiming to have the best interests of the so-called disadvantaged students. But those students and their families are the ones that are harmed the most. I was born in Milwaukee, grew up in Milwaukee, went to Milwaukee public schools, and escaped them. I can tell you, hell would freeze over before I would send my kid to a Milwaukee public school. The teachers are every day in harm's way. They are not protected. It's not safe for teachers or students in many MPS schools. They do not provide learning environments that are appropriate. I have friends in MPS in the MPS administration in certain schools that are predominantly Hispanic or Black, and the stories they tell me that I can't repeat because they don't want to lose their job. But I will tell you that MPS officials are more fixated on putting a rainbow club or some DEI club or a Black Lives Matter week than they are in teaching kids to read. They're Title I schools that provide little to no services for kids. Where is that money going? Well, we don't know because they can't hire competent people to tell us. It's outrageous. Jill Underly, who is the state superintendent of Wisconsin Public Schools, has failed again. Just months ago, we discovered that in Wisconsin, our state superintendent was covering up actual groomer scandals where teachers were grooming kids. It's incompetence, and even worse than that, I think. What do they do right? What do they do well? This is just absolutely unacceptable. It's just unacceptable. And it should not be tolerated. It absolutely should not. And this is my state, and I feel very passionate about it. And a lot of money is spent on education. And the largest school districts like Milwaukee, like in Minneapolis, what we're hearing, the fraud with these Somalian daycares, could you imagine the fraud? I mean, if we only knew the fraud that's happening in the public school system, there is so much more money, and so many more bad actors, and so much grift and fraud. I think, well, this is one example. $25 million unaccounted for in Minneapolis. More than that unaccounted for in Milwaukee public schools. Now, it's not being tied to immigration, doesn't matter. It's just, I can tell you who it's not being tied to, conservatives. The Democrats, the Democratic Party, and the far left control these institutions. They control these cities, and no one is held accountable. And they have schemes to keep getting reelected that depend on keeping whole populations of people and cities down, keeping them in the underclass, keeping them on welfare, keeping them on a government payroll. Because if those people experienced the freedom that comes with not being tied and basically beholden to a politician to give you the scraps off the table. You had your own business, a real business, not a pretend one. And you could look yourself in the mirror and build something. And 10 years later, you're not still on welfare and your kids aren't on welfare, but instead you've moved to, bought a new house, passing wealth on to your kids, then you wouldn't need the government. And in fact, you would be like me and you would want the government out of your life because I grew up in poverty. S- I have witnessed and lived and been surrounded by folks who have been made dependent on the government. And I can tell you it is no way to live. That is not the preferred way to live in America. There is something better. And it's a crying, it is a shame, it is an outrage that my saying this, I'm sure I could go in the comments that would it'd be said that, oh, you're just a white supremacist. That's it's so wrong. Anyway, that's what's happening. And there's going to be more on that story. And there's going to be FOIAs and digging and investigations. And I'm here for it. And I want to be a part of it. And we need to expose this. There's a lot that needs to be exposed now. There's also, and then I'm going to, but my friends at Will, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, I want to talk about, gotta find their post. Let's see. So they just there's always so much going on. I want to get there. So they just working with Defending Education, talking about they just filed a complaint with the Department of Justice because Milwaukee Public Schools, actually, I'm going to bring just, I want to have this all up. Milwaukee Public Schools have policies still that keep the so-called gender identity of children a secret. Now, again, I don't even like to use like the word gender, but they're basically sex rejecting policies. There are policies even in elementary schools in Milwaukee Public Schools, policies that tell administrators and teachers that you can hide a child's identity if they are if they come to a teacher and say, I think I'm non-binary, I want to use different pronouns, any of that. So there's now been a formal complaint filed about that. And one thing that I want to bring up and show real fast is an example of something that is in the public schools, and it is a slide presentation, gender identity and pronouns. And this slide presentation is, I'm gonna try and pull that up. Is emblematic. This is just evidence of what is happening in the public schools. I do a lot of slideshows and presentations. I used to do those all across Wisconsin. So the PDF, gender identity and pronouns, and I'm trying to pull this up, but it starts with a group, and this was in Lake Bluff, Wisconsin. It's Shorewood Schools, and Shorewood is a very nice community. Here we go. Trying to pull up this PDF. Anyways, the LGBTQI plus activists claim that any administrator or teacher who pushes back against these secret gender and sexuality alliance clubs, GSA clubs, for students ages 5 to 12 is basically a bigot. These GSAs were meeting during lunch and recess, and I believe that sometimes things like that happen because then so in elementary schools, there aren't after school programs. Also, it's easier to kind of hide this information from parents. If you do it at that time, if it's an after school program, then you have to let parents know what's happening. And since keeping secrets from parents seems to be part of, the game plan, it only makes sense. Have these rainbow clubs or rainbow crew meetings, have them during the school day, have kids bring lunches into a room with a GSA teacher, a gender sexuality alliance teacher, a rainbow club leader, whatever name they're called, acceptance club, that's a new one. Acceptance clubs, they're changing the names, they're not changing the policies, they're not changing what's happening. And so these kinds of requests, they still need to be filed. I'm pulling up one right now. This isn't the exact one, but this is an example. Gender identity and expression, expressing who you are. This slideshow was pulled directly from Wisconsin public schools. And you can see by the way that it looks, the graphics, this is meant for elementary school students. So it's all about pronouns, gender identity. Then here, who am I? Do I identify as a girl, a boy, non-binary, Black, multiracial, Chinese? Again, identity politics directly in the classrooms. What does it mean to be non-binary? And you can see genderqueer identifies genderqueer. Oh, it's just. So that's just one example of many different slideshows and presentations that I see that members of Moms for Liberty, Defending Ed, if you go to the Defending Ed website, they have an indoctrination map. You can click on your state and they will, all of the FOIA requests, all of the information that has been submitted by parents. I know we've submitted this information and they do an excellent job at tracking. So definitely go there. And if you have something to report, you can send it to them. Also, please contact. My DMs are open. Anything that sometimes sunlight is the best disinfectant. And to get this out, if you go to the momsforliberty.org website, we also have a map. Find a chapter near you. You can go to the Moms for Liberty website and submit email requests. And of course, we'd always love for you to become a member. And I've got a few more. Let's find another. just to give some examples. Usually I have this stuff pulled up ahead of time. So here's just some examples of books. In My Daddy's Belly. Me and My Dysphoria Monster. Go through. These are some like when we're talking about in Green Bay, a trans-identifying biological male was allowed to try out for the Southwest High School volleyball team, despite biological girls receiving injuries, bruises, and welts. And the district dismissed their fears of safety from biological girls and their parents, and they gave a spot to that biological boy to join the team. This is just kind of all of the information but right here, this is these are images from several different Wisconsin schools. This is GSA, a Gender Sexuality Alliance Club, Rainbow Library. These are images from classrooms, and you can see here, come into room C108. Kids can come and talk to a person with one of these safety badges if they want to talk about gender identity. These are some examples of lesson plans about neopronouns. Moon self, rock self. And again, these are some of the organizations. You can see the Human Rights Campaign, and these are graphics supplied to teachers. Here you can see rainbow clubs. Look at how young these kids are. Reading books. This is a book about a girl that is transitioning into a boy. And What Are Your Words is the title. And that is part of lesson plans in Wauwatosa School District, Madison School Districts, Milwaukee School Districts, recommended by the Wisconsin State Department of Education. And none of this has been removed. Not any of it. It is all still on the website. Wisconsin Department of Education is challenging President Trump's executive orders, openly define the Department of Education. And they haven't changed a thing. There's very few things they've taken down. More along the lines, some of the DEI, there are some specific DEI groups that stopped providing development for educators, but as far as I can see, none of them have been fired. They have just been moved to different departments, and I guarantee they're still doing the work. They're doing the work. Maybe just less obvious. So that is just a small example, and I will be in the new year. I'll definitely be talking about this a lot, and do so in a way that's a little bit more organized than today. Let's see if there's any. Oh my gosh, it's almost 9 o'clock. So today I was going to air 2 recorded interviews because it's nearly 9 o'clock. I have talked longer than I thought. I think I'll just play one of them, and then I can air the others tomorrow, and we can actually, I think I will do a live stream tomorrow because there's just so much more to talk about. We have 20,000 live views on X, and that's amazing. So I'm so grateful that so many of you are watching. Again, let's not forget a rally if you are in the DC area on Tuesday, January 13th, January 13th, 10 a.m. officially. Get there sooner. It's going to be busy. But there's going to be live oral arguments. Now, very few people will actually get into the Supreme Court to listen to those oral arguments. And if you are one of those lucky few, you cannot bring, you can't have your phones, you can't record anything, you can't take pictures, but you can listen, and it's historic. There will be organizations playing news. I'm sure there will be C-SPAN and news organizations that will air live. There won't be video, but you can listen to the oral arguments. And I will be there. I will be posting pictures, videos. If I can live stream, I absolutely will. And Riley Gaines, Jennifer Say, Alliance Defend. I mean, there are so many groups that are going to be there at the rally speaking. Do No Harm. So many that if I start naming, I won't be able to name them all, and I don't want to neglect mentioning someone, but Moms for Liberty will definitely be there. Many of our members and leaders will be there. Can't wait. Very excited to stand up and save girls' sports, save women's sports, and just defend the real meaning of Title IX, and to basically, Biden tried to reinvent 1,500 pages, and President Trump came in, and the Department of Education under Secretary Linda McMahon has made clear that she stands for women and girls. The Department of Justice, they're fighting back. So as I've been told, especially over the last recent days, the process, our government, it's slow, but those in charge are working with all deliberate speed, and we just have to keep filing those complaints. And we have to remember that we have to work within our states. We have to, if there is something happening that is violating the law, that is violating state law, that is violating executive orders, or anything that we've got to bring these cases. So parents, you're going to have to bring these cases to one of the many great nonprofit legal groups that are working these cases. They are trying these cases. They are going before the Supreme Court. They're going before federal courts, state courts. They are trying. So we've got to get these cases to lawyers. You have to file complaints, and you have to go to the website of some of our great legal teams, and you can submit through Moms for Liberty at momsforliberty.org. You can file legal complaints, and then we pass them along to legal teams that can look into them. So there's a lot that you can do. Do not give up hope. I think there is so much to be hopeful for, and I think that these two big cases, they are going to. I think that, at least I pray that there's some very big wins. And we'll talk. I want to talk about that more when we've got, when I bring on one of the legal experts to talk about it. So I've got myself a big to-do list. I've got to bring on a lot of people to talk about these issues. And so we'll have a fun month in January. We can really get to the heart of a lot of these issues. So you know what? It's 9 o'clock. That's it for now. I am going to play. Let's put on. I'm going to put on my most recent conversation with Alexa Anderson. And then tomorrow I can play the interview that I had with Alexa and Maddie and Sophia. Those are all great. I'm also going to be airing an interview with Jen Say, and we've got Jen Say, Alexa, Maddie, and Sophia. They had a great at the Moms for Liberty National Summit. They had a great and powerful panel on stage talking about women and girls sports and Title IX. And so we're going to air that. So stay tuned. Going to try every night, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, all the way up until Tuesday. We're going to make sure that we provide great content around these issues, supporting Title IX and saving girls sports. I'm Scarlett Johnson with Moms for Liberty. We stand for truth. And if you like this sweatshirt, you can actually buy it. It's on the momsforliberty.org website. And if you go to there under the store, you can buy this great sweatshirt and stand for truth. So thanks for listening. It's been a great 2 hours. It was only supposed to be an hour, but and now let's put on Alexa Anderson. This was a great conversation. Bye, y'all. Or just the beginning.
Yeah.
So hi, Alexa. So I was asking, what are your plans for the holidays? You're home?
Yes, I got home from college about a week ago, so I'm back with my family and just enjoying it, hanging out with everybody, eating good food. We finished decorating a couple days ago, so that's always fun,
Oh,
you know?
that's fun. Oh, that's nice. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, my daughter comes into town, and her husband and the baby, so very excited. I've got more presents. Santa has lots of presents for my 2-year-old.
Oh, I bet. That's
Yeah,
awesome. That's gonna be so much fun.
Can a 2-year-old have 2 riding cars? That's well,
They can never be too spoiled, you know? Might
yeah,
as well.
the first grandchild, like, so all the family, so like he's the pampered prince of the family, so it's nice.
Oh.
All right, so introducing, I'm going to start by introducing, we like jump right into conversation, but
Okay.
so I was just talking with your attorney, America First, who she's amazing, Leanne O'Neill. She's the chief of legal affairs. She's the chief of legal affairs officer for America First Policy Institute. And we had a great conversation talking about the whole issue that we're dealing with gender identity being considered by a few, but they have a lot of power to be a category covered by Title IX instead of the binary, the male female. And so we had a great conversation. But so now, Alexa, now that you're somewhere where you have power,
Yes.
it didn't yesterday, Oregon, there's been a lot of issues with Mother Nature and power out all over, and there was no internet connection. So you were supposed to join, but then couldn't because could not find anywhere where you could get a signal. So
Yes.
now we're talking to you today about the legal action that was taken, why, and the happy outcome. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But for those who don't know your story. You are one of those courageous Oregon girls, teenagers, who stood up for fairness in girls' athletics. You and your teammate Reese were punished when you peacefully expressed your views after a biological male took a medal that a female had rightfully earned, and you were willing to speak out in this moment. This was in June of last year, correct?
Yes, I believe it was in late May, early June.
Late May and early June. And this kind of sparked a national conversation. And here you are today. Now, back then you were a senior in high school. Now you are a freshman in college in Alabama. And so thank you for making the time to come on the show. I know that you've got a lot going on for the holidays, but could you tell us again, from your perspective, what happened leading up to this track meet, and then the events of that day and what happened afterwards? So I'm going to let you talk now.
Yeah. So at the beginning of my senior year track and field season, I was made aware that there was an athlete from another school who had competed as a biological male in the male category the previous year, and this year was entering into the female division. And I personally just felt that this was really unfair and unsafe, and this was going to lead to a lot of bigger issues in women's sports of compromising the integrity and fairness of all we've worked for. And that I believe that we deserve protections in our sports and who's allowed to be in them. So I competed my whole normal season. I never personally competed against this athlete until the 2025 track and field state championship meet. I knew that they were going to be there, and so did everyone else. We all kind of showed up. It was the beginning of a normal meet. We all kind of just went about everything. But when it got time to go on the podium, Reese Eckerd and I kind of just felt that this wasn't fair, that we had been failed by the people in charge, that we were not protected. Our sport was not protected, and the people who were allowed in it was just completely unregulated. So we decided to take a stand. We took a step off the podium just to send a signal that this wasn't a fair meet, this wasn't a fair competition between biological females, and that we wanted protections in these sports in order for all other girls to never have to face something like this. I'm sorry, I think you're muted.
See, that happens. I mute myself to make sure that when I'm talking, then I forget. My kids wish they could mute me probably more, but so we've got an image here, and this is an iconic image now of you and Reese. There you are, like you peacefully protested. You just didn't go on the platform to get your medal, out in solidarity for the female who wasn't up there because a biological male took her place. So very a peaceful, respectful way to just to say this is something I don't think is just.
Yes, exactly. We weren't out here being hateful. We don't direct any hate towards anyone who was on that podium. We just wanted to get the attention of the adults who are in charge and let them know that us girls, the ones who compete in these sports, we want protections to keep our sports safe and fair.
Yeah, and you did get their attention.
Yes, we did.
Attention, because actually massive attention, because what happened when you did this? Because unbeknownst to you, I'm sure you do this and you think I'm just doing something I think is right. But as we all have these cell phones, others recorded this and it went viral, right? All of a sudden, when did you first realize you just went viral?
It was the next morning after the meet. I had kind of woken up and I had a bunch of text messages, a bunch of screenshots of people saying, Riley Gaines reposted what happened on X. Like, Riley Gaines is saying this. Like, just a bunch of people were seeing our video, seeing the photos, and they were understanding and supporting what we were doing. I was like, oh my gosh, so many people are out here supporting us. They understand what we did and why, and it was amazing. Never
Well,
something I thought was
Riley
gonna
Gaines
happen.
has like 1 million followers, and so when she reposts something, it goes viral very quickly. But and I was just so immediately after this, I did a search and I found on Facebook, just the early reports of what happened, and there were a bunch of young women that were saying, "This is so great." 2 female athletes refused to stand on the podium after a biological male placed in the Oregon girls high jump state championships. There was another one that said, 2 seniors stepped down from their podium spots and turned away from the ceremony in solidarity with women and girls. And the facts are that this person competed in boys events on the JV team in 2023, 2024, finishing last in the boys high jump competition. And then in 2025, he says, "Oh, I feel like a girl now." And he's winning events, the girls high jump in Portland Interscholastic League varsity relays, beats 18 girls in one particular event. So this is a male who was placing last when in the male category, but kind of running away with awards in the female category. And that doesn't seem very fair.
No, I completely agree. And it's the people in charge who have allowed this to happen, who have said that us girls, our fairness and our equality in our sports doesn't matter as much as the inclusivity of the trans athletes. They're saying that our rights are less than, that we don't have as much impact, we don't have as much pull. So they've just kind of taken away our rights and said anyone can compete in your category if they identify as a female. And that just goes against the reality of biology and the abilities and the differences between men and women.
Yes. And so going back, so you've been athletic all of your life. So what sports have you played or been involved in? What sports have you been involved in? The teams that you've been in? How long have you been participating in athletics?
I have been an athlete, I think since the day that I could walk. I was a competitive gymnast for about 9 years, from the time I was 6 to about 15. And then I'm 6 feet tall. I'm a little bit tall to be a gymnast. So I switched over to track and field and volleyball. So I've always been involved in athletics. It's been a huge part of my life, a huge part of making me the person that I am today.
And so, now in college, what sport are you playing in college?
I am a Division I track and field athlete at the University of South Alabama, where I compete in the events of pole vault and high jump.
Okay. So track and field, that's great. I love track and field. It's fun. And you know what? Because my daughter's been on track team, my son cross country, and the kids are great. First of all, they're really busy and they can't get into trouble. But the girls are so down to earth. I love, like, they're just, they're fit, healthy, and they're just really nice and down to earth and very supportive of their other teammates. I think sports are wonderful for all kids. You want all kids to be involved in sports, even if it's rec, because it's good. So many lessons and learning, because you lose a lot, right? So you learn to be a good loser, you learn to be a good winner, and you learn how a competition hones skills and also just helps you to early on accept that not everything's always going to go your way, and you're going to have to work really hard. And sometimes there's just someone else that's has just more ability. So you already accept that. What you don't accept is when there is this inherently unfair advantage when a biological male is now competing in all female categories. And the reason why there are male and female categories is because there are biological differences. So just as we don't have to have degrees in biology to understand as an athlete, as someone who's been an athlete since you could walk, what are the differences between a male and female athlete?
There are so many differences between male and female athletes, and there are things you even notice from a young age. I remember being a young gymnast. I was like 6 or 7 years old, and I was always annoyed. I'm like, why are the boys able to do 50 pull-ups and I can only do like 5? I don't understand. We're the same age, we train the same amount, and I kind of had to learn that's the biological difference. Biological boys will tend to be stronger, faster, their testosterone levels help them recover faster. They're going to be taller. They're going to be bigger. They have a different bone structure, so their body mechanics move completely differently. There's just so many things that separate them into another category because we are born differently. If you have XX chromosomes versus if you have XY chromosomes, you're very different in the way that you're built and the way that your body works, the way that you put on muscle, the way that you're able to move and use your body. It's just completely different.
Yeah, and that's interesting that you say that, so that at 7 years old, you already notice. So lots of times there'll be so-called experts that say, well, if you don't go through male puberty, but before puberty, boys already are stronger. They can faster. They're able to do certain things that females can't. This has nothing to do with that they're smarter. This has nothing to do with intelligence, IQ, ability to learn things. It's just about a physical reality. Like, you're 6 feet tall, I'm 5'3". We
Yes.
could pretend that's not a reality. I could pretend that I could do a great layup, but you're going to have you're just gonna have a better ability. Like in volleyball, I was not so good at volleyball. I'm 5'3". That's just, I could work really hard and be the best that I could be for my weight, for my height. But when somebody has, that the height, it's just it can be challenging. So I think we have to be aware of these inherent biological differences. And
Yes.
it doesn't make you a sore loser. Like Ocasio-Cortez will say, like, to Riley Gaines, well, maybe if you just would have trained harder, you could have beat that male that had huge, huge advantages.
Yeah, at this point, between men and women, it's no matter how hard as a female you train, the likelihood of you being better than an average male athlete is so low. If you look at the world records in the women's like elite 100 meter, the world record for that is the same time that a good 15 to 16-year-old boy can run. Like, that's just the reality of it. These elite female runners are about the same as a high school boy, just because that's what they're
Oh,
capable of.
hold on 1 second. I didn't realize my camera went out because I was looking at the notes. I do know when it went out. Did you? All I have to do, it's fine. Here, I'm going to pause because that's so just fine. So we were talking about the inherent biological differences and that they do exist. It's like I said, you don't have to have a degree in biology to understand this, and that these differences are apparent even at a very young age. Like you said, at 7 years old, you noticed that when you were as a gymnast, there were things that a boy your age that practices as much as you do can do 50 pull-ups and you can do 5. And you're wondering why at first, because even then maybe you're the same height and
Yeah.
you're like, wait a second. And sometimes lots of girls are taller than boys until they like hit puberty, and then boom, like I was just volunteering in my daughter's 8th grade class, and I'm telling you, in the span of a year, they're all like, I'm like, what happened? They're like 6 feet tall, and their
Yeah.
voice is all like mine right now because I just got over a cold.
Ugh.
They're creaky voices, and they're kind of in that in between stage, and it's funny. I was telling my friend, like, your son, like, overnight, just he was like a little like a little dude. My daughter was taller than him, and now he's just like boom, shoot, just shot up. So so then, as adolescence, puberty hits, then really, then men really, that's when those differences become even more pronounced, because when girls go through puberty and boys do, there's like some different things happening because we're different, because we
Yes.
have reproductive organs in which we have to carry a child and all of that. And so our bodies change. And a lot of girls in this stage, I know that's an awkward stage. I don't know many girls that are at 13 are like, I love my body. I love what's happening to me. Especially when you're a tomboy. I was more of a tomboy, and I was like, I hate what's happening to me. Why is it happening? I want a sweatshirt on. I don't want to have breasts. I want to play with the boys. And
Yeah.
then one day you're 15 and you're like, I like being a girl. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a hard period of your life. I mean, for both sexes, when you're growing up, it's everyone has that awkward stage. Everyone's a little uncomfortable in themselves and just trying to figure out who you are and how to be comfortable with yourself again.
And I've heard you say before that during this time, adults should be sensitive to children, but guiding them, understanding that the teenage brain, the preteen brain it's not a fully mature, developed brain,
Yeah.
able to that doesn't have life experience and doesn't have the ability to reason and understand things the way that a mature adult can. So adults, when they are dealing with these kids that are suffering from this confusion, this dysphoria, it's their job as adults to help them and to help help them manage those feelings that they're having, and not to affirm something that is that's going to eventually cause harm and require medicalization that will cause permanent lifelong damage. You wouldn't affirm someone suffering from anorexia or bulimia or severe mental illness where they're hurting themselves. You don't affirm that. You try and help the kids. You're compassionate. In the situation with gender dysphoria, it's different. Adults aren't doing their job. I don't think that they're protecting those that are afflicted and feeling all of this discomfort, nor are they being fair to the majority around these, these kids, teens, adults, who they're just trying to figure things out for themselves too. And they're just trying to get through life and play a sport, go to gym, go to the locker room. They're just sort of trying to get by too.
Yeah. As a fellow teenager who's gone through all those changes, who's very recently just working on discovering myself and figuring out who I am, I'm not someone who's going to come out here and tell you how you can or cannot live your life or how you should or should not see yourself, because that's not my business how you choose to live your life. But what is my business is how other people's life choices negatively impact me and other girls and our opportunities.
Yeah.
And that does stem from the people in charge who
Yeah.
haven't taken the protections to protect us or haven't stepped up and said, there are transgender people out there. There's a growing transgender population. How are we going to protect the biological girls and keep things fair and equal for them? That isn't a conversation that has been had, and those protections aren't in place.
And what's interesting, Alexa, is that there's been studies now released showing that those who are identifying as trans is plummeting. That which falls in line with the Abigail Schreier's theory that there was kind of mass event where, whether it social media access to computers, iPhones at an early age, COVID, because a lot of this stemmed even before COVID. So, but for reasons that we are still learning about, and we need to look into in a scientific way, not with any sort of ideology or previously held belief, just to really look at the facts and look at studies and analyze what exactly happened, that there was this spike in identification as what they'll with various gender identities as transgender or non-binary or something like that, that there was this spike. And now since 2023, 2024, now it's on the decline. And in every category, they were showing that less and less teens are identifying. Many who did identify are no longer. They're sort of like they're now comfortable in their body. They're comfortable with their biological sex. Many turn out to be same-sex attracted, and that's why we work with Gays Against Groomers so often, because my friends in the gay and lesbian community feel that if they were 12 years old in 2020, that they may have been targeted as trans, and instead they're different and they're same-sex attracted, and there's no one way to be a boy or a girl. You could be a boy who loves to cook, who loves fashion. You could be a girl who loves cars and wants to, and likes wearing jeans more, and just it doesn't mean anything. It just, that is more of a personality. That is more of kind of who you are. That's not another biological sex. It's just what makes you unique, what makes you you. And whether it's biology or influence, if you hang out with your dad more and you have a lot of brothers, or have a lot of sisters and you're close to your mom, or that's I thought we had gotten to this place, as I'm an adult, I'm older than you, where we no longer cared about labels. Like, you're free to be who you are, and whatever, if you're a man, you it's okay if you want to go in fashion design. In fact, a lot of the best fashion designers are men. And and if you're a woman, you can be an astronaut and you can be a mechanic. You can break those barriers. That was the whole point. Now we're telling boys that like to cook, you're 3 years old and like to cook, maybe you're trapped in the wrong body. If you're a girl that likes cars and not dolls, you're trapped in the wrong body. I mean, that to me is terrifying as a mom of 5 kids, because it's just because a boy is playing with dolls isn't a sign that they're trapped in the wrong body. It's just a boy playing with dolls. That's it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I'm a huge believer in be who you want to be, love who you want to love, everything like that. But at such a young age, when kids are so impressionable, if you're presenting them with all this information, it gets confused in their brains. They don't understand. If you tell them, oh, girls like to cook, girls like to wear dresses, and there's a boy who sees his mom in a dress, is like, oh, I want to wear a dress. And then you're telling him that that means he's a girl, that's going to
Mhm.
get really confusing in such a young kid's mind. They're not going to really understand that decision. They're going to think, oh, then I'm a girl, but they don't understand what that means. They don't understand biological sexes. They don't understand that. It's almost like a form of sexism in a way, the like
Yeah.
extreme sexism, where before we had women are for cooking, cleaning, dresses, that kind of stuff. Men are for construction, blue collar jobs, all this. And now it's almost the same thing, where it's like, if your personality leans one way, that makes you a boy or a girl. You can't be
Mhm.
a feminine guy, you can't be a masculine girl. You
Yep.
It's almost saying you have to switch. You can't be a feminine guy, you can't be a masculine girl. You're in the wrong
Yeah.
body. And for such young kids, I know if I was 8 years old, I refused to wear dresses. I only wore leggings and athletic jackets. I love to hang out with the guys. I love to go throw a football, try to do all that kind of stuff. If someone had told me, "Oh, that's a guy thing," you're a guy, then 8-year-old me would be like, oh, okay, just
Mhm.
because I wouldn't have understood. So at
Yeah.
such a young age like that, presenting those kind of things to such a young kid just gets so confusing in their brain because they can't comprehend it. I don't think it's something that we should be doing.
Yeah, they can't. This is a social experiment that is going to, it is causing a lot of harm already. It's something we've never done before in, recorded human history, where we are coaching very small children to, to me, it seems like coaching them when I have countless examples, but one more recently was a mom called me and said that her 5-year-old son came home and said, "Mom, did you know that I can decide to be a girl?" And she said, "No, you can't." And he's like, "Yes, I could. My teacher said, we read a book and said that I can put on a dress and just decide to be a girl and be a princess and be a girl." And she asked me what to do. And I said, "Pull your kid out of that school." That to me is, you know, they've now crossed such a threshold that you complain, you do what you need to do. But I personally would just pull my son out and say, "Nope, I am not. This is, this is, this is absolutely unacceptable." And it turned out that this was happening during library time. I have volunteered in classrooms enough, I'm sure your mom did as well, where you go to the library, you supervise, you help the kids pick out books, and then I would read to them and, read Goodnight Moon and there's countless, I have like Dr. Seuss, lots of different great books. But reading to kids, me and my gender dysphoria monster, reading to them books where there are drag queens and storylines where the kids, very little kids, are coming out to their parents as transgender, and then everyone's celebrating. I just think that if you've got a kid that's autistic, a kid that doesn't fit a certain kind of mold, maybe that you have a girl that is more of a tomboy, and she already feels a little like, I don't fit in with the other girls because I like these different things. Then this messaging that, oh, well, then maybe you're in the wrong body. And then the celebrating, then the cheering, and the yes, we're here for you. For a kid, that's just like, that to me, that is so dangerous and wrong. Um, and I think you've said this, if you were an adult and you feel this way and you're struggling and you get help and you make these decisions, adults can make these choices. And
Yes.
I really, in the past, I have not cared one bit. You just can't ask for me to participate and to deny biological reality. That in the past, I probably would have been like, "Oh yeah, you do you, whatever." But I worry now because it's like, well, now I want to go into the bathroom with your daughters, and I want to have access to the spaces that you and your daughters are in, and then I want to compete in sex separated categories in athletics. And then I'm like, wait a second. Now
Yeah.
that's too far because that's not fair. And as Jennifer says, this is a totally one-sided thing happening in athletics. There aren't girls that are competing on male teams. It is unilaterally right now males that are competing, winning, taking opportunities and awards away from biological females. And so this to me seems very much a modern day feminist crisis, that this is really happening to only women when it comes to athletics. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I completely agree. Going back to a lot of what you just said, I totally agree. Schools are somewhere where they should be teaching math, teaching science, how to read, how to write. Cultural and beliefs and all that kind of stuff is something for a parent to teach their kids at home. You don't want your kid coming home And it's not saying you teach them, like maybe they're being taught a different religion than what you preach and stuff like
Mhm.
that. That is not saying that should be taught in a public school. So
Yeah.
I completely agree with that. And if you are a fully grown, competent adult, you know what you want with your life and you decide that you want to be transgender because that's how you will be happiest. I completely support that. You have one life, live it the way that you will be happiest. But what I do not support is these men that see our sport as an opportunity. Some of them don't even identify as transgender. They just see our sport as an opportunity for them to compete, for them to stir the pot, to be like, oh, maybe I'm not as good as a male. I'm going to compete in the female category. I've had so many guys come up to me jokingly saying, oh, it's that easy? I just have to say I'm a girl and I can come compete against you guys?
And
I
it
just don't
really
think that
is
should be
that easy.
possible.
It really
Yeah.
is that easy in Oregon. It's that easy. You can just say there is no they aren't I wouldn't agree with this anyway, but they're not testing to see where their hormone levels are, their testosterone levels. They're just saying I am a girl and grow out their hair and sometimes not even that. And then I identify as a female. It's that easy.
Yes.
Early on, I think maybe 2016, there was supposed to be testing requirements and proof that for 1 year you've been taking some kind of hormone or, puberty blocker. But now you just have to say, I identify as a female. And you just have to say, I identify as a female, and you have access to female bathrooms, female locker rooms. That's it. I identify. Just say the words, and they can't question it. And that is that. And I think a lot of people don't know that. I think a lot of people think, oh, these poor kids, they've 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 now been taking these hormones, they've been doing this and that, they're identifying and they just want to participate in sport. First of all, I would disagree with that premise, that because studies have shown you cannot erase away that biological advantage with hormones, with puberty suppression and hormones. You just can't. It's just biological. It's built in. There's no, and there were, I believe, 33 studies proving this.
Yeah.
But even if that was the standard, they're no longer even bothering with that standard. They're just like, all you have to do is identify as non-binary or
Mhm.
demisexual or all these other terms that they have. And that just kind of invites predators, and it invites saboteurs, guys that just want to go in and watch girls change. They're just like, oh yeah, I'm a female. And then they sit and they ogle and stare at the girls as they change. And this is happening time and time again all over the country. And I think people don't understand that. They're told a whole different scenario. And then they say, oh, don't listen to Alexa, she's a bigot. Don't listen to Scarlett, she's just a bigot. That's not really happening until it happens and they see it for themselves. And then suddenly there's a change of heart.
Yeah, in Oregon, the only regulation that we have on competition in sports is that you cannot compete in the opposite gender during the same season. So if you were to compete in men's football, which is a fall sport, you can't compete in women's volleyball, which is also a fall sport. But you can compete in men's football and then women's basketball because it's a
Oh my
winter
God.
sport. So that is the only regulation we have. It's not even within the same year. It's just within the season. We have fall, winter, spring. You can compete with a different gender within all three of those. You just have to identify. And that just opens up this whole world of opportunity from people who don't have pure intentions, who see this as an opportunity to take advantage of girls, take advantage of our sports. And that's just not right. We need protections and we need to feel safe and secure within our sports and who's allowed to be in them.
This is the moment I want to clip this right here because I can't believe what you just said happens in Oregon. I was unaware of this, that a male can compete in a male sport like in the fall, and then a female sport in the spring. so they can compete
Yes,
in
ma'am.
football, male football in the fall. In the spring, they can say, "Oh, I identify as a female in track and field."
Yes.
That just shows you there is no basis in reality. This is all ideology, that this is all just appeasing activist groups, because that makes no sense. And it just shows that all that someone has to do, all that a male has to do is say, well, that boy, I didn't get any playing time on the football team, and I really need a scholarship to get to college. So I'm going to identify as a female and compete in the girls' track and field events, win, and that should set me up for college really nice. That's
Yeah.
just, that's appalling. That's appalling. And I've never heard that before, and I think that that's just shocking. I just, in Oregon, man, Oregon, I just imagined like all the nature lovers and all the, like, it's good and wholesome, but there's some areas, closer are to Portland, like, where they've just lost their minds.
There's a very loud minority of people in Oregon who just have these loud voices, and they have this power, and they're taking away our women's rights that we've fought so long for, our Title IX rights that we fought for. They're being diminished. Instead of sex-based discrimination, they're changing it to gender-based discrimination. And they're saying, well, gender is, you can identify as one gender one day and then another the next. So there's
have a
no
question.
rules, there's no regulations.
In your opinion, to some of the loudest voices, have they ever participated in athletics? Do you think that they've ever competed at, not, and I wouldn't even say at an elite level, but competed in high school athletics on a team, competed in collegiate athletics? Because from what I've seen, the loudest voices, they'll even admit, well, I've never played a sport before. I heard one legislator said, I play sports, and he was saying on Xbox. He plays sports on Xbox, and that's how he knows, and he identified as a female. And so I started laughing, like, is this for real? Like, you play Xbox sports, virtual sports, and they're there, and he's like, in the virtual world, everything's even. I'm like, sure it is. Like, come on. You cannot be serious. We're talking about in real life, life, real human beings. You can't say that a male, I'll tell you, I actually had someone say to me that she who said she identifies as, she uses the pronouns she, her, he, him, they, them, Zer. Every day she wakes up and decides what she's going to identify as. And I'm dead serious. I actually recorded this. This is what she said. And she said, like, so what if there's a 6'4", 200-pound male basketball player? You just got to work harder. You just got to be faster. And she was responding to me testifying that my daughter, who plays basketball, who is 5'6" and 100, and I won't say her weight, but she's smaller. If she's playing against a 6'4" guy that's 200 pounds, he's going to dominate and possibly harm her. And so her response was, well, I'm sorry, your daughter's not a better basketball player. She's just got to try harder. She's got to be faster. So I said, have you ever played basketball in your life? Like, competitively? She's like, no. I'm like, yeah. Because only someone who has never competed, who hasn't spent, the vast majority of their life, like my daughter, since kindergarten, competing. Like, at first, they're all the little kids, like, chasing the ball. Like, it's funny, when they're first playing basketball, even volleyball, I'm sure, like, they all just run towards the ball. To where she is now, a junior in high school, sacrificing all her summers, AAU. When other kids are having parties, she is at practice, or she's training. This morning, she got up early because she had to go to practice and then lift weights. And Sunday, she's going to practice tomorrow. And then she has a game Monday. She's got 2 days off over Christmas break,
Yeah.
2 days. That's what she gets. And she has to train the whole time. So
Yeah.
when you do that, then come back to me and tell me how, if you're going to compete against a male, how you just have to just train harder. And too
Yeah.
bad for your daughter. She's just not good enough. As a mom, I had to suppress my urge to, like,
Yeah, I bet.
I was like, okay, God, like, Lord, help me. I'm going to be a joyful warrior here. But I realized that I really looked at this person and I thought, this is, I bet, someone who just, I think just someone who has had struggles in their life and their empathy has been weaponized, that they don't seem like a bad person, that they're just so, they're just so wrong about things that I don't know how I could ever really change their minds, but I didn't hate them. I just thought, boy, there's so much you don't know, and you're very proud of that ignorance. And I don't really know what else to do. I mean, what do you do? I'm talking a lot. What do? You have to have been faced in these same situations.
Yeah, I have a lot of people that come after me really hatefully, really aggressively, and at this point, I try to explain my side. I try to explain where I'm coming from because I think in our society, it's so important to be able to communicate, even when you disagree with someone, to be able to hear their side and try to understand, like, okay, why do you think that? Because that leads to mutual understanding. But what I found is when I do that, people are so quick to jump to all this hate. They're quick to jump to you're transphobic, you're homophobic, you're hateful, all this kind of stuff when that is not where I'm coming from at all. So I've learned to just let people know, like, hey, I respect your opinion. I don't agree with it. And this is my opinion. And that's how it's going to be. We're not going to agree. And that's
Yeah.
okay. So that's
Yeah.
how I've learned to deal with it because, like you said, a lot of the people who disagree in this issue are ones who don't really understand. They're people who haven't been in the world of sports their whole life like we have, and they just don't know what that looks like and what the biological difference within sports looks like. And they're not people who want to try to understand it either. So at that point, there's really nothing we can do besides say, I don't agree with you, and that's okay. I still respect you. I still see you as a human being.
Yep. It's there was a viral moment at Target where an employee was wearing a red Charlie Kirk shirt. I don't know if you saw this. And a woman was following her around with the phone, swearing at her, calling her a loser, saying she's stupid, using the F word, like, and this is clearly a Christian woman. And she just said, please stop following me. Please leave me alone. And she's like, why are you wearing that shirt? And she said, you're a bigot, you're this. And she's like, no, I'm not. Please leave me alone. And finally, and it was an elderly woman, a Target employee. And she finally said, I'm sorry, we disagree. Have a nice day. I'm going to leave. And so this went viral. And the person who recorded is the one that everyone is looking at like, you're a bad person. The way that you handle this, like, maybe you have a problem. We'll go talk to a manager. Pull her aside without a phone and say, this kind of upsets me, but it's a free country and you can do what you want. But
Yeah.
the way that she handled it was inspiring. And that's the way that I try to handle it. It sounds like you. You're going to come at me. I'm just going to smile and say, like, you know what? Have a nice day. I'm sorry. Like, please leave me alone. I'm just trying to live my life too. And that's what
Yeah.
we have to do. Because the other side, they're trying to get that reaction from you because, I don't know, my dad said misery loves company. He used to always say that. And I believe it. Unhappy people want to make other people unhappy. And I'm not going to let them have that kind of power over me. And I'm not going to let them trigger me so that they can have their moment. and then try to embarrass me. You, like me, we're visible, we're leaders. So we have to hold this standard, or we'll let a lot of people down. And you do a very good job. And you have to, but you're very young. I'm so grateful for you, but you're very young to have to do that. And I wish more adults were as vocal as you are. But
Thank you.
the adults can't do what you can do, because you are you're a victim, although you won't have a victim mentality, so that's great. But you experienced this, and
Mhm.
your voice, you're young, attractive woman, and well spoken, but you have this story that I can't tell. I can tell a story, but I can't tell your story. So we need more girls like you to stand up and tell that story. Because when, like with Chloe Cole, like with Riley Gaines, with Luca Hines, with Prisha, with so many, you attract attention because you make it real for people. It's no longer just a hypothetical. Like you make it very real. And that's why it's so important. So what do you say to girls, wherever they are, whatever state? I know in Illinois, there's a lot happening to the borders, Wisconsin,
Yeah.
to girls that are experiencing this injustice, but they're afraid. They think, I don't want to lose friends. I don't want to lose opportunities. I've worked so hard to be an athlete. If I say something, what if I can't compete? What do you say to them?
My message to all the girls out there who have faced something similar would just be to remember that you matter and that you deserve a space to feel safe, to feel protected, that your sports are your place to be, to belong, and that we are the girls in those sports are the ones that have to stand up to protect them. That you might lose some friends along the way, but you're going to gain so many more that have your back and see you and support you and will be there for you no matter what, because those are your true friends. And when you stand up and do something, you're going to find out who your true friends are, and you're going to make lifelong bonds like I've made with Reese. Her and I were friends before this, but now we have this lifelong bond because we connected over something. We stood up together and had each other's backs. So
Yes,
just
and I
know
want
that
to
you're supported and you're strong and you have people behind you.
pull up an image I have of you and Reese, because you just very recently, you both were honored in a very special way in New York, and I'll pull it up. I want to pull it here. There you guys are. So what happened here?
Me and Reese received the Most Valuable Patriot Award at the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. It's actually sitting right back here on my desk.
Oh, wow.
Very,
That's
very
so
proud of
special.
that. That was an amazing opportunity. I mean, 6 months ago when we stepped off the podium, we didn't think anything was really going to come of it. And here we are in New York receiving a very prestigious award on national television. It was so amazing. I was so happy to be standing there next to Reese. She is such a beautiful human inside and out, and I'm so proud to have been going through all of this by her side.
Yes, I have to talk to her at some point, but she said something really profound in her speech. What did she say?
Yes. She said that nothing will happen if you do nothing. I think that's a beautiful quote, and that is so incredibly true. We can't complain about things, but not do anything to try to change it. You can't be upset with the lack of protections if you don't stand up and vouch for them. And yeah, that's what she had to say, and I totally agree.
Imagine what would happen if just 10% of the girls on a track team said, I'm not going to compete, or I'm going to step off the podium. Just 10%, even just a small amount, just said, we're not going to participate in this lie anymore. But it starts with one. One person stands up. And I was told this early on in my journey of activism, because I wasn't always like this. I was normal. I was just a mom with a Honda minivan driving kids around. I never dreamed I'd be doing something like this. I never in my life dreamed I'd be doing something like this. And, but it takes one person to stand up, and then that inspires another person, and then another person. And pretty soon, when you have got an even, and it's in comparison, it's not that many, but you've got this force then. Now it becomes a movement. Now
Yes.
that one act of courage inspires another act of courage. And it's not just with other people. Once you do something courageous and you survive it, you just sort of like you realize I can do that. Like I'm going to do it again. And then you do it again and again, and then courage becomes a habit. It becomes a way of life. And that is when you are so free that you are all the invisible chains of caring about what people think about you, they just go away. And now you should care what people, you should care what certain people think about you.
Yes.
Your parents that love you, your grandparents that love you. There are some opinions that matter because we all need to be course corrected. We're humans. So we need to have the pastor that we look up to. We need to have the friend that's willing to tell us something that's uncomfortable. But you can't be afraid of what the person who hates you thinks about you, because they hate you. They don't,
Yeah.
and they don't necessarily hate you. I shouldn't say that. They have hate in their heart. It's really not about you, to be honest. And the more you realize that, the more that you can forgive and look at them as humans, because you can understand this isn't about you. This is about them. And that should inspire some pity from you, and it does. Now, that shouldn't stop you from doing the right thing. Your empathy should never be weaponized, but you should have it. You
Yes.
don't, you wanna be empathetic because then you're no better, and you don't wanna be like that. The people, the ideology that caused that young man to, murder Charlie Kirk is something you never wanna have in your heart. You don't wanna have a heart like that, and Charlie Kirk would never want that for young people. So you have to make sure, we all have to check ourselves and make sure that we touch grass, hang out with our family over the holidays, and turn off politics and realize that this is a beautiful and wonderful world that we live in, and most humans are wonderful. They're regular, ordinary people just like us, and maybe and if we talk to them and we have those conversations, I always think that 8 out of 10 people would agree with me if they just sat and had a conversation with me, and they might change my mind too, and I have to be open to that.
Yeah.
Always open.
Being open-minded, being curious to learn new things, and being gracious when you realize that you might be wrong, or gracious when you're sharing your opinions. That is something that's so important in this country, and something that I think we've really lost sight of. We've really jumped into, I don't agree with
Yeah.
you, that means we're enemies, which is so
Yeah.
dangerous to our society, and it's so horrible. It leads to so many unwanted aggression, anger, hatred, all that kind of stuff. When really, if we all just sat down and were able to have a mature, gracious conversation, say, hey, this is what I think. I want to hear what you have to say. We might not come to a mutual understanding, but at least I'll understand why. I
Yeah.
think that would benefit our society so much if we could all just learn to forego the hate and focus on being kind, being respectful, and seeing each other as human beings, not
Yes.
enemies, not competition.
Yes, and it's really sad to see that even in the conservative movement, there's infighting. I don't ever want to hear people say that they're cutting their family out because we don't have similar political beliefs. Like, you should never do that. Never do that. If they want to cut, but don't, like, just, if it gets that heated, just say, hey, we're not going to even, I love you. We're not going to talk about this because we disagree, and that's okay. We
Yeah.
don't need to agree. Like, let's cool down and let's just talk about something else. That's okay. Like, you you need to have people in your life that think differently than you, because it helps you to be empathetic. You have to just, it just makes you a better person. And frankly, it helps you with your own arguments, because then you're like, oh, okay, I see. I didn't think about it that way. So let me research that and let me see if I can counter some of your claims. And if you can't, then you have to think, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm not right about this. So
Yeah.
that's how we save our country, and that's what the Western creed, the American creed, is all about. But before we go, it's getting late. I did want to talk about your suit with AFPI, and because I had a conversation with Dan beforehand, what happened was after you did your peaceful protest, what happened? They didn't give you your awards. So what happened? What did you do next? And how did AFPI get involved?
Yes, so after we stepped off the podium, we were kind of pushed off to the side by an official saying, if you're not going to participate, you need to get out of the way. And then we did not receive our medals. I had asked about them and was told that they'd be shipped to our school. They were never shipped to our school. I did not receive my medal until the Fox Nation Patriot Awards. So that is when AFPI got involved. They were in contact with Reese before all this had happened. I got involved with them after the meet. They told us, hey, we are filing a Title IX lawsuit as the Title IX laws have been infringed upon. And we're also filing a First Amendment lawsuit because you guys were not allowed to use your freedom of speech and your freedom of protest as stated in the First Amendment. So they really supported us on that. They told us that they had our backs and they were going to help fight to make everything right.
And they did. They just announced on December 10th, I believe, that this First Amendment lawsuit in Oregon, brought on behalf of yourself and Reese Eckhart, had been dismissed by mutual agreement of both parties. And I'm reading directly from their press release. They had filed the lawsuit to protect you girls after the Oregon School Activities Association retaliated against you girls for your silent protest against the lack of fairness in girls' sports. And it brought the attention to this unconstitutional retaliation, resulting in millions of Americans learning your story and rallying behind you. AFPI also highlighted in their complaint the OSAA's past practice of selectively embracing left-leaning protective speech, and allegations that the organization tried to strike from AFPI's lawsuit, but the judge denied this attempt. So after filing the suit, the OSAA unceremoniously mailed the girls your medals to the legal counsel. And on November 6th, live at Fox Nation Patriot Awards ceremony, the girls received this much needed recognition and the medals that you were denied before a national audience. And the director of AFPI, the director of litigation, Andrew Zamiti, said that the resolution of this case doesn't affect the organization's separate and ongoing Title IX lawsuit against OSAA, which challenges the association's policy of allowing biological males to compete in girls' sports. But what this case did do is protect Alexa and Reese's, their free speech, exposed how officials had retaliated against them for expressing truth, elevated their story to a national audience, and resulted in you receiving the awards and medals that you deserved. And now AFPI is going to continue this real fight, restoring Title IX to defend girls' sports across America. And I know Leanne had said that they are going to continue to stand with student athletes in Oregon and all across the country in the advancing of a broader litigation strategy to protect fairness, safety, and opportunity for women and girls. And so I am so grateful to them, as I am to Southeastern Legal Foundation, Alliance Defending Freedom, the Wisconsin Institute for Law and Liberty, and the many other C3 organizations that they're nonprofit. They do not charge their clients they do this work pro bono, and they do it for the advancement of Western civilization, and in this case, fairness for girls.
Yeah, what AFPI has done for us has been so amazing. This whole entire time, our only goal has been get protections in girls' sports, protect us, keep them fair, keep them safe, keep them equal. And that is what we're doing. They are pursuing that Title IX case. They're going to fight it till the ends of the earth on our behalf. And we know that and we love that. Yeah, I'm just so incredibly grateful to them for all they've done, for all the help and support that they've had. They are all just amazing human beings.
Well, what I suggest, because the Supreme Court is going to be hearing oral arguments in two very important cases that will affect this Oregon case, the ongoing litigation, and many other cases that from the aforementioned legal groups that they've brought forward in the Trump administration, the DOJ, the Department of Education guidance, all of that. So there's going to be two oral arguments will be heard in January. These opinions will be released in June, and I think we should all go to DC and be there together. I'm like, we need to get a group and go attend
Yes.
as they read these decisions, because I have a good feeling about that. This is going to it's not going to end the debate, but it's going to really, really benefit team sanity, and it's going to be a major setback for those that are just insistent on denying truth
Yes.
in favor of a political ideology and advancing power. They're harming kids to
Yes.
get power, and that's despicable.
Yes. I will be there in DC supporting. I will
do
be
it.
there the 12th and 13th. We will be on the
Do it.
steps
We're
of the
gonna meet.
Supreme Court rallying in support. And I hope that anyone who can comes and joins us, and wear your Save Women's Sports shirts from XXXY Athletics.
Yes.
They are an amazing brand that's been supporting this whole movement. So, let's all band
I'm-
together and see if we can get change.
I've booked my flight. I told my husband I'm going to be gone, because sometimes you don't know exactly, they have this week when opinions drop. I'm going to be there the whole week, waiting every day, waiting to hear. I might even, I was nearly able to, for the Mahmoud B. Taylor, I was going to be allowed to go hear the release of the decision, but there were these two adorable college kids right behind me, and so I was like, "You guys, you go. It's fine. You go." They're like, so I'm a mom. What am I gonna do? So it's like the last 2 tickets. I'm like, let's give them to the kids. We'll listen outside. So, but I did I was there, and it was amazing. It was celebratory. That Mahmoud B. Taylor was historic, and the decisions coming up are going to be, I think, they're going to be historic, and I'm very excited to hear the oral arguments, because there's little they tip their hat a little bit as you listen to the
Yes.
back and forth, and you get a little bit of an idea of where things are going to go. So, well,
Yeah.
Alexa, I'm going to let you go because it's nearly Christmas, and you're doing you're home, so enjoy that good home cooking. I've got to go cook, actually.
Yes.
Or-
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate your time, and have a Merry Christmas, you and your entire family. I hope you all have a wonderful holiday.
You too. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year. We'll talk again soon. I'm going to have you a regular on because you're so pretty. Everyone just wants to
Thank
watch
you.
look at you. So, and you're smart.
Thank you so
And
much.
everything. Listen, I have teenagers around the house all the time. So it's like, she's so pretty.
Oh, that's so
And my
sweet.
nephews were like, she's super pretty. I have like college age nephews, and they're conservative too. She's like, they're like, there's a pretty conservative girl. They're like, where is she?
Oh my gosh, that's so funny.
Oh, anyways, sorry guys, if you're watching. I just know what to do. All right. Well, bye, Alexa. It's been great
Bye.
talking to you. Thank you for all you do. Bye.
Thank you.
Merry Christmas. That was an amazing conversation with my friend Alexa, and I'm totally serious. Let's meet in June. We're going to have a party. I'm going to make this is done. This is done. We're going to get Riley Gaines. We're going to get Paula Scanlon. We're going to get Maddie. We're going to get Sophia. We're going to get Reese. We're going to have a party. Okay, we're going to celebrate the restoration of truth and justice and actual feminism that cares about women and girls. So thanks, guys, for tuning in. Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And Team Sanity, we're the place to be, right? Bye.